In the heart of the Pacific Northwest lies the tale of two states. Welcome to the showdown between Oregon and Washington. Oregon with its rugged coastline, enchanting forest, and hip urban vine, to Washington State with its iconic skyline of Seattle, tech-savvy atmosphere, and outdoor playground. But which is the ultimate destination? Which offers the best quality of life, the most promising opportunity, and the most unforgettable experiences? Join me, Amanda Dallman, as I dive deep into Oregon and Washington State. Make sure to stick around as we expose the one thing that will make a big difference in your pocketbook. Geographically, Oregon is known for its diverse geology, including the rugged coastline, dense forests, and the Cascade Mountains. It also has desert to the east. Oregon has a total of approximately 98,000 square miles of land, and 53% of that is public. Washington State is similar in diversity, with the western part being characterized by sandy coastlines, the Olympic Mountains, the Puget Sound, which is a cluster of 170 islands. It has the Cascade Mountain Range, and the eastern part is dominated by the Columbia Palouse, which is a combination of desert, rolling farmland, and the Columbia River. Washington State has approximately 71,000 square miles of land, and 44% of that is public. Natural attractions in Oregon include Crater Lake National Park, the Columbia River Gorge, which borders both Oregon and Washington, the Pacific Coast. Oregon features 11 national forests, 21 national wildlife refuges, and 361 state parks. You can say the hunting is pretty good. Washington State's natural attractions feature things such as Olympic National Park, Mount Rainier National Park, the North Cascades National Park, the San Juan Islands, the Columbia River, and of course the Pacific Coast. Washington boasts 9 national forests with over 100 state parks. There is no shortage to explore. The climate is similar in both states. Oregon is generally mild climate on the coast with more extreme temperatures and less precipitation on the east side of the mountains. Now, winters, you will see lows in the Portland area around 30 to 40 degree range, and in the summers, 80 to 90 degrees is common. Oregon gets an average of about 37 inches of rain a year. Of course, the east side of the mountains is much less. They average about 13 inches of rain per year. Now, Washington State's climate, with the western region experiencing mild and wet winters and dry summers, and the eastern region is semi-arid to arid climate, seeing much cooler winters and much hotter summers. Temperatures in the Seattle area in the winter, they're around 30 to 40 degrees, and the summers are around 70 to 80 degrees. What is really interesting about the Seattle area is it's known for all of its rain, but actually it gets less rain than Portland. You see, it's called a rain shadow. The Olympic Mountains block some of the rain coming in off of the Pacific Ocean. And Seattle only gets about 36 inches of rain a year, while Portland gets closer to 42 inches of rain. Something else that is really interesting about both the east side of the Cascades in Oregon and Washington, they get 300 days of sunshine. That's 50 more days a year than the Sunshine State of Florida. All right, let's talk about Oregon's economy. So they have a population of approximately 4.24 million people and has a GDP of approximately $299 billion. The majority of the industries include tech, manufacturing, forestry, tourism. Oregon is ranked 25th for economy by US News Source. Washington State's population is 7.75 million people, and their GDP is approximately $726 billion. Washington's mostly dominated by tech companies such as Microsoft and Amazon. There is a strong aerospace presence, a lot of agriculture, forestry, and tourism. Washington is ranked 13th by US News Source, and Washington, so they don't have a corporate tax rate. So it's a great place for startups and large companies. The culture in both states is similar. So Oregon is often associated with laid-back, environmentally conscious lifestyle with a strong emphasis on outdoor recreation, sustainability, arts, culture. Politically, Oregon typically leans Democrat in the state election. Washington's culture also values outdoor activities and environmentalism. Washington feels a little more cosmopolitan, particularly in the Seattle area. There is a vibrant art scene and diverse culture influences. Washington also tends to lean Democratic, holding most of the governmentship and controls and legislation. Although both states are technically blue, you will find in the rural areas, such as the east side of the state, the east side of the Cascades is a lot more red. So kind of the rule is, if it's rural, it's red in the Pacific Northwest. I want to hear from you in the comments. What's your favorite part about Oregon and Washington? Now, let's take a look at the cost of living between the two states. We can look at a variety of factors such as housing, transportation, grocery, utility, healthcare. So here's a breakdown with some statistics. The median home price in Oregon is around $480,000, while Washington's median home price is significantly higher, around $540,000. Of course, you can expect to pay a lot more in the metro areas such as Portland and Seattle. Portland's real estate will be a bit cheaper than Seattle's real estate. So transportation, Oregon tends to have a bit cheaper gas. At the time this video is recorded, Oregon's gas is about $3.90 per gallon, while Washington's gas is $4.24 per gallon. Washington is known to have some of the most expensive gas in the country. This is due mostly to the taxes added by the state. By the way, you can pump your own gas in Oregon now. When it comes to air travel, I believe that Seattle has better international flights, and you can find better deals on flights when flying at a SeaTac, whether that's internationally or domestically. Okay, groceries. Oregon and Washington are about equal on the National Grocery Index. Oregon has a ranking of 105, while Washington has a ranking of 104. Both states are higher than the national average of 100. Utilities, both Oregon and Washington are ranked quite a bit lower than the national average for utilities. Oregon's utilities are 19% lower than the national average, and Washington's utilities are 26% below the national average. Okay, next is healthcare. You can expect to pay a little bit more for healthcare in both Oregon and Washington. While Oregon is about 5% over the national average, Washington is 6% higher. This is mostly due to probably the overall cost of living in these areas. Overall cost of living index, you will find that living in Oregon and Washington is more expensive compared to the rest of the country. Washington cost of living is about 21% higher than the national average, while Oregon is 14% higher. Note that both of these states have some of the highest minimum wages in the country. Washington ranks number 2 next to Washington, D.C. with a minimum wage of $16.25 per hour. Now let's get into the biggest difference of Washington and Oregon, and that is the tax system. This is one of the biggest reasons why people usually choose Washington over Oregon. Income tax. Washington state does not have an income tax. This means that individuals do not pay state income tax on their wages, salaries, which includes coming from investments. However, Washington does impose a sales tax, which is between 6.5 and 10%, depending on which county and city you're making a purchase in. This is taxed on everything with the exception of groceries and homes, which we'll talk about in a minute. The great part about this is if you are a saver, you will keep more money in your pocket. Oregon has a progressive income tax system, which rates anywhere from 4.75 to 9.9%. The state also allows cities and counties to impose an additional income tax on top of this. This can have a big impact for people living off of retirement. Property taxes. Washington has property taxes which are levied by counties and other local taxing districts. Property tax rates vary depending on the location of the assessed value of your property. This means that your taxes will differ depending on the county, the city, the school district that you're in. Oregon also has property taxes which are assessed at the county level. Property taxes vary by county and are based also on the assessed value of your property. The base rate for both of these states hover around 0.84% of the property's assessed value. Now, if you're coming from states like Texas or Illinois, this will be a pleasant surprise by how low these rates actually are. Okay, so there is some real estate tax that we need to talk about. Oregon is one of 13 states that don't require buyers or sellers to pay a transfer tax when a piece of property is exchanging hands. There is one exception, of course, and this is for residents inside Washington County in Oregon, which is the Portland area, who are unfortunately subject to a transfer tax. Washington County's real estate transfer tax is at a rate of about $1 to every $1,000 of the sales price. Washington state has a tax on real estate sold. Listen up. This is based off of a tiered system and it depends on the sale price of your property. Depending on the price of your home, you can expect to pay a REIT tax from 1.1 all the way up to 3%. If you were thinking about moving to the Pacific Northwest, give me a call and I'll connect you with a trustworthy agent. As we come to the end of our journey of comparing Oregon and Washington, it's clear that both states in the Pacific Northwest are gems and have something truly special to offer. Ultimately, the choice between Oregon and Washington comes down to your personal preference. Thanks for joining.